check.
Okay, I just smacked the shit out of my mic. I almost smacked myself in the face with my mic. Okay, so this is episode 9 of I Swear to Drunk I'm Not God, and Happy New Year. I didn't get a chance to actually release this episode on time because tech sucks and I don't know what I'm doing for real. But if I did know what I was doing, I would have been able to release my episode on Thursday. So today you're going to get it. Today you're going to get it. I promise. Also, oh my God. We're going to take a moment to just say you're getting a double dose of this pimping. And what I mean by that is that there are 2 motherfuckers here. There are 2 motherfuckers, and 2 motherfuckers you already know. We got Dustin and fucking Sal. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Brittany's got her boys in the house.
And honestly, you know, originally I was going to do this by myself. And as it, like, the story and the summary got longer and longer, I was like, I probably need some energy to bounce off of. Because by like hour 1, I'm going to be fucking tired.
You got 2 energy-filled homies.
Definitely.
And also, you know, obviously Sal, who originally wasn't supposed to be on it, but then I was like, you know, there's no murder. There's nothing weird other than like her being, well, we don't know there's no murder.
I'm out.
We don't know there's no murder. But it's nothing super duper aggressive. It's not alien related, but I figure, you know, he could fuck around and find out. And he's from California, and this is a very local moment for you.
Oh shoot! Let me get my Thomas guide out. So
Exactly.
I can remember where
like
all the California.
Yeah, because we gonna need some perspective with that. So I'm so happy for all 12 of you that are listening, and I appreciate the love and support. Last year, 8 episodes of, you know, my first podcast during an emotional breakdown is hard to pull off. So I also want to thank myself for being the shit, because you know that's mad hard to do. It's mad hard to do. So okay. So a couple things. So me and Dustin already recorded this episode, at least half of it. It was trash because I don't know how to work this. I already said that. And 2, because it was trash, we decided to record it. So now re-record it. So now it's just bigger and fucking better. And I'm happy the way it played out. Also,
and we're drunker.
Yeah. And the cocktail that we drank on the first episode was the Ocean Breeze. And the reason why I picked that cocktail was because it is associated with this particular case. But instead, what I'm going to do is tell you that we're drinking Sea Breeze because it tastes better.
Way better.
Ocean Breeze tastes like Mucinex.
Ocean Breeze reminds me of Ocean Spray. And that cranberry selection is awful. I feels you.
Ocean Breeze was, what was it? It was blue curacao. Is that how you pronounced it?
Curacao.
You can stop right there.
It was nasty as fuck.
Had some rum in it.
Oh God, it was rum, blue curacao, and lemonade, and I was just like, "This is the worst thing." We
finished it though.
We did, but after adding
other
like
stuff.
Cranberry and ginger to it, because we were like, we got to make this work. And that actually ended up better.
That was actually pretty good.
So today we're drinking a Sea Breeze. Sea Breeze is mad simple. It's basically just vodka, cranberry juice, and grapefruit juice. So if you're in a citrusy mood, I think it's the most easy and, you know, adorable thing to drink right now. It also, it kind of is an Ocean Breeze. It's just a Sea Breeze.
Yeah,
instead.
basically it's just, you know.
Yeah. So there isn't a bunch of ridiculous sugar in it, but whatever, who cares? We're here to just drink and talk about this. Now,
I'm too old to be drinking all the sugar anymore.
Even though this has 2 different juices in it, which means we're going to definitely have a headache. Sal is over there drinking his white wine. I don't know.
I will tell you, the one that I'm drinking tonight is a low sugar Chardonnay.
Oh, God.
So.
Respect. Because when me and Dustin did Tamla Horsford, I talked so much shit about, do you remember Jen? There was in Tamla Horsford's case, there's a chick on there. Her name's Jen. And she was the most fucked up person at the party when this woman died. And so
I do remember.
you
yeah,
listen to
I
that
remember
one.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
badmouthed
Chardonnay.
Jen, but because every interview they would mention Jen and how like she was so drunk and she got so annoying, so drunk. And then I made a comment. I was like, "That's because Jen's ass was drinking wine." And the only reason why I said that was
Why now?
because. Well, no, because people underestimate wine.
Mm-hmm.
People think that because it's not vodka or gin or whiskey that it
Still
will not
alcohol,
get you
man.
fucked up.
It will get
So
you-
they start drinking it and drinking it and drinking it, thinking that it's sweet.
Yep.
And
then all of
then-
a sudden they're.
But guess what? What
They're on
we did
intervention.
say, Jen was the only one that had a firm ass alibi because she passed out early in the party.
She's like, it wasn't me.
No, she took herself to the limit.
And that's another
Mhm.
thing that
She put
wine
herself to bed.
does.
She's like, I am not a part of this.
I got nothing to do
I'm
with
out.
this. She was like, "What day is it?" I was asleep. I don't even.
Yeah.
So
After those 4 bottles of wine,
so-
wine will put you to sleep.
it sure will. It sure will. So today, we're going to talk about the curious case of Mitrice Richardson. And Dustin knows half the story, but he'll be able to. I mean, hopefully you don't remember much, and I'm okay with that.
I remember a little bit,
Yeah.
a lot. Like, we
And then
drank
we-
a lot.
She said, I hope you don't remember much. We need it to be as fresh as possible.
We need it to be fresh. And, Mitrice, there's a lot of moving parts here, and there's a lot
It
to
was
do.
definitely weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of mental health stuff. There's a lot of a bunch of different things and relationships between her parents. I think this one is not as much, it's not gruesome or weird. It's just, I mean, it's weird. Don't get me wrong. It's not gruesome, but it's just one of those stories that like so much is happening. We also get an opportunity to see what it's like to actually be looking for a missing child.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a huge part of her entire tale, her mother's
Is
perspective.
that lostness? And we're getting it from the mother's perspective. a
Mother's
lot.
perspective. Then we're also touching on grief, which is a major part of obviously having a missing child that shows up not with us anymore.
And then how you have
So
to handle that and deal with it.
So this is
and-
about a child.
no. She's an adult. She was 24 when
She's
she
just
was
somebody's
meaning
child.
She was a child of now somebody who's still living in grieving. Gotcha. Okay, cool.
So I read her mom's book. Her mom had a book called Mitrice, and it was just basically chronicling the entire experience and how she's been dealing with the grief of losing Mitrice because it has taken a major emotional toll on her. And then there's so much corruption in California. There's corruption in every government, but California didn't care for real when it came to looking for her. So there's a lot of built up just anger, resentment. This is also a woman who wanted to be a sheriff's deputy at some point, and she started to look at the department and the system in general from a totally different lens.
perspective.
Yeah. And so I think it'll be interesting to kind of like tap into those things too. So this is gonna be long, so let's do this. Sip.
Okay, take a sip.
That sea breeze ain't bad, y'all.
It's really not.
All right.
It's that grapefruit.
Now, I do want to say too, I didn't change the names, but because the mom had pseudonyms in her book, I felt it was necessary to maintain them. I know the real names of the people involved. The only real names that I'm using is Letice, which is Mitrice's mother, and Mitrice. Everybody else, they got fake names. So if you go and you Google it and you look, you're like, who the fuck is this motherfucking name? Who she said?
That's what you said.
It's a totally different
different
name. And yeah, she replaced the names in her book. All right, let's do this. So Mitrice was actually born on April 30th, 1985, which is 3 days after me and a year before me. We are fellow Taurians, and Dustin is also
6
a Taurian.
days before my birthday.
So
Wait, there are 31 days in April, right?
I don't know.
Sure.
Now, her parents are Letice Sutton and Louis Richardson. Now, she has also a younger sibling. They have different dads. And Letice and her then husband, Darnell, they raised Mitrice in a middle-class home in Covina, California. Now, Letice was a young mother. She had Mitrice when she was 17 years old. So their relationship off the rip is strong because you already know that, like, women who have kids at that
young.
age.
Especially when they're the same, I think it's just
Gender?
in general. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you have a little friend almost.
Yeah, for sure. It turns into your friend. Now, the Mitrice, her mother, she grew up in an abusive family, unfortunately, but Mitrice was 100% loved. Like, there was nothing about what happened to her led me to believe that this girl ever had any instability in her home. Her mother loved her fucking dearly. And she had Mitrice was just seemed to just be a wonderful person. Mitrice had come up from like that Compton, California hood shit, but she knew that she wanted to see her family grow up and be better. Yeah. So even though she grew up in that type of environment, she made a point to make sure that her kids grew up in a healthy environment.
That's good. She moved to Covina and West Covina. That's a good area.
Okay, well that's good to know because I didn't know that.
It's better than Compton.
Oh, okay.
But, it's still seaside. It's still, if you're West Covina, it's closer to the beach.
Got you. Okay, well that's good to know because I didn't know that. Now, she would have Mitrice with this guy named Lewis. He identified as a Crip. He actually identified as a Hoover Crip. So this is kind of the environment that she grew up in, where she actually had a baby with a gangbanger. So, which happens.
It happens.
It happens, often, and not all gangbangers are like active and dangerous. Yes. That's just what that's
the life
to
survive sometimes.
Yeah, especially in those areas. So Mitrice would later run an attorney service like business, and she's not an attorney, but I think just as a general manager,
like
that's the vibe. Yeah, that's the vibe I kind of get. But then,
like an office manager. Like she's running the law office.
Yeah.
Like running. Oh, cool.
And then by the time of this incident, she was working at the Boys and Girls Club. Now, the reason why she decided to work at the Boys and Girls Club was because she decided to go back to school, and the Boys and Girls Club they created an environment where she can have her youngest daughter go there while she's working. So she was like, we can still be in the same space together.
It was almost like free daycare. Like,
basically.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to work, you're coming with me, but you still get
and
provided.
She could socialize. She could be with other kids. She can still get
involved
in things.
It's out of trouble, out of the
so
streets.
Instead of having to, leave and sacrifice taking care of her child, she was like, I got to figure out a way to kill two birds with one stone. And apparently it was pretty effective because she calls her April in her book. Her youngest daughter seems like she's a very sweet girl in the shit too. Like 100%.
She seems like a good mom.
I mean, legit. So she worked at the Boys and Girls Club because she had gone back to school. She was working there part-time. She struggled with her own mental illness, though. She mentions in her book that she suffered from depression, anxiety, rapid cycling bipolar episodes, which, according to WebMD, is a pattern of frequent, distinct episodes in bipolar disorder. In rapid cycling, a person with the disorder experiences 4 or more episodes of mania or depression in 1 year. It can occur at any point in the course of a bipolar disorder and could come and go over many years, depending on how well the illness is treated. It is not necessarily a permanent or indefinite pattern of episodes. So, comes and goes bipolar.
Yep.
And she also said that she had PTSD just from her
childhood.
Sure.
Like,
exactly.
You lived in Compton.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
Well, she also had an abusive.
She also had
she grew up
childhood
in an
too,
abusive neighborhood, household.
Mitrice even talks about how her grandfather committed suicide in the 70s, right after shooting her grandmother 3 times.
So suicide?
Her grandmother survived.
Oh, right. No, right. You told me that.
Her grandmother survived.
Oh, shit.
Now, back to Mitrice. Now, Mitrice, she was an athlete, a dancer, and just an all-around good student. She was well-spoken. She was drop-dead fucking gorgeous. I'm going to post pictures after this because she's super fucking pretty. And she was smart. She enrolled in Cal State with a major in psychology. She got her bachelor's in psych. And she wanted to work specifically with foster kids. That was her goal. She wanted to deal with
She wanted to be a nice person.
She did.
Goals, man.
Oh, straight up. Overall, she seemed to grow up in a loving household, like I said. But when she was in college, she discovered she was lesbian. And she started to date women. And there was even a period where she was dating like three women at the same time. And her mom was super supportive. She was like, girl.
She had it going on. Why wouldn't she?
And she's in college. Is that what
And
you're
she's
supposed
in college
to do?
experimenting.
Like, exactly.
Not experimenting with sexuality, just experimenting with people.
With people
You know, like
in
just
general. So this is what her mother said about her. So she said, Mitrice is a college graduate from Cal State University of Fullerton in psychology with a 4.0 GPA. She has recently taken and successfully passed the CBEST test to become a substitute teacher in the Los Angeles School District. Mitrice has been gainfully employed throughout her stint as a college student to present. She is bilingual in Spanish. She has begun the process of acceptance into a psychological professional college called Alliant to pursue her doctoral degree as a clinical psychologist. She also volunteered numerous hours at Hansen Associates, as well as volunteering at a nonprofit organization assisting children in disadvantaged areas in Orange County. She was a runner-up in the Miss Azusa pageant and a contestant in the Miss Fullerton pageant. She is a trained and gifted dancer in tap, jazz, lyrical, with a focus and passion in ballet.
Did she work at American Girl when she was a kid?
Because literally that was like their resume.
She was so freaking talented.
I told Dustin, I was like, I feel inadequate.
Yeah,
I mean, she was doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
She was living life, and she had co-curriculars.
Yep, she did.
A career.
And maintained a 4.0 GPA while working.
I couldn't
That's a
maintain a 4.0 GPA, and I didn't do
You're
anything.
focused, you're smart, you're dedicated, you have a life.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot.
So, and it just, just reading about that was just like, it was too much. So her mom said, quote, Mitrice was taught to love and respect people, to do the right thing even when no one is looking, and to always do her work right the first time so she won't waste time doing it a second time.
Measure twice, cut once.
Boom. To strive to be the best at whatever she chooses to do, and to go to church no matter how late she was up the night before.
That's crazy, though.
She was like, I don't give a fuck, you go to the club or not.
Values.
But
you go to the club, you better be at church at 7 a.m.
That's it. That's all.
Roll bounce to the freaking church right after the club.
You got them skates on. You better skate your ass over to the first Episcopal.
You better put a shawl on.
The first opportunity when those doors open. You better do that.
So fast forward.
Okay.
She's 24. Mitrice is. On September 16, 2009, Mitrice drove all the way to Geoffrey's in Malibu from LA. When she got there, she was told that she had to valet her vehicle and she would have to wait while he handled another patron. When he returned, he found Mitrice in his car going through his CDs.
Weird.
He directs her out of the car.
How did he even get in her car? I mean, his car.
Exactly. He must have just had it locked because he's probably thinking, I'm at work. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably been in and out of his car all day. So he directs her out of the car and he lets the host know to keep an eye on her because she's acting strange. Mitrice is then seated. Now, she orders a Kobe steak, and a cocktail, an Ocean Breeze. At some point, Mitrice gets up from her seat and joins another party. While seated, she starts talking to them about how she's there to avenge Michael Jackson and how she's and how she's from Mars and Mother Earth is her mother.
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Mm-hmm. The group she's sitting with talks to her for a while. They actually ended up talking to her for like 2 hours, knowing that she was a bit crazy. But they didn't think that she was off. They were like, I mean, she's off, but they didn't think she was violent. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were like, she's
entertainment.
Yeah, that's it. Which,
they're like, we didn't kill Michael, so she's not here to kill us.
So we're good. Yeah, exactly. So, of course, the group eventually, like a waitress comes over to the table and the waitress is like, hey guys, are you all okay? Because they noticed that Mitrice is sitting with them and, she wants to make sure her table is okay. Mm-hmm. Belch. So
are you guys okay with this scary black girl sitting at the table?
Exactly. So then they decide we're going to leave. This is after 2 hours. So it's not like she sat down and they were like, we should go. It was like, this was a while. And they settle their bill. And then Mitrice's waitress comes to her and was like, how would you like to settle your bill? Because she was getting up to leave as well, as if she had paid her bill. when she had not.
It's like, I thought they took care of it.
Yeah.
You're like, I thought our bills were all combined. Shoot.
Now, you know what's interesting about this? Mitrice's mother says in the book that she tells the waitress, like, oh, no, you got me. Like, she kind of had that vibe. Like, you got it.
She told the group.
Like, y'all got it.
Yeah. But then when I looked at some of the other, like, sources, there were moments where, like, Mitrice, like, they think that Mitrice possibly thought that either that they were going to pay it in a weird way.
Yeah, like, I mean,
because
maybe she thought those were her friends that she was meeting.
Yeah, because she kept saying, like, shit like, oh, they said that she was there to meet friends. And possibly there was a disconnect between who she thought were her friends and those people at the table.
Or maybe she was just a pretty girl and she was used to people paying for things.
I mean, that could be, but
so,
given...
confusing, a little bit confusion.
Yeah.
She was there to meet friends, like, my friends are on their way, or to meet new friends. Like, she went there to
You know
meet-
what? They didn't make that distinction.
I guess,
at the bar to meet friends.
Yeah, they did not make that
really
distinction.
saying, like, oh, no, my friends are on the way. I'm here to meet friends.
Okay, that makes sense.
That does, actually.
Yeah.
And she met some friends.
And
She
she did
did.
meet friends, so she...
But she shouldn't assume they're going to pay her bill, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's a little problematic there.
So
She also thought she was from Mars.
She did.
And
And
she
that
was
she was
avenging
there to
Michael.
avenge Michael Jackson's death. So she tells, her, I got me. So obviously they called the police. You got me, I mean. And obviously they called the police. Now, while on the phone with the police, they tell them, quote, she sounds really crazy. She may be on drugs or something. We were wondering if someone could come by and pick her up. And then while waiting for the sheriff, the hostess allowed Mitrice to call someone. That someone was Mitrice's great-grandmother, which is Letitia's grandmother. It was the only number she knew by heart. She learned that number when she was a child. And obviously, a 91-year-old is not going to change her number that often. So that was the number she had. Now, this is what kind of infuriated me, because I'm like, in my millennial head, I'm like, there's so many ways to handle this situation, but okay, you picked all of the wrong ones.
All the wrong ones.
So the grandmother tried to make the payment over the phone, and the restaurant said that she would need to fax a signed receipt. And she, of course, is 91. She does not have a fax machine. And in my head, I'm looking at it like this. Let's run her card. Let's get her out of here. We'll get the signature another day.
I mean, and then realistically, it's $90. So even if that's not their card,
let's talk about how much the check was.
Yeah,
was it $100?
It was $90. It was $90.
So
it was like $89.
$90.
Her purse, because the Kobe beef steak was like $65, and then the drink. So with tax, it ended up being like $89. The bill is $89. You got a girl here that's kind of off, kind of crazy. You get her grandmother on the phone, and her grandmother says, I don't have a fax machine. I really can't get a signed receipt to you. At no point did you say, do you have a number for someone else that we can call?
No option.
That way, or somebody we can call, we'll take your card. But tomorrow, if you can get someone to come out here to sign it.
How about also saying, just in that little area, do you have somebody that you know that can come pick her up?
That port.
Boom.
She can't pay her bill, and she seems to be a little intoxicated.
Yeah.
Do you have somebody that can come and pick her up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but honestly, this is the part that pisses me off.
Critical thinking.
You had the grandma on the phone. And then, she was in her 90s, so I'm not even going to blame her. But I also couldn't help but think, why the grandma didn't think, let me have her mom call you so she can settle this.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because
she's 91, though. Like,
she's also 90, yeah.
And it's late at night.
The person that's at the restaurant had the responsibility of but by the way, $90 at a restaurant in Malibu?
It's bullshit. This is gonna make this is gonna, because to me, it was like this. It's 10 o'clock at night. You all close at 11. We got a crazy girl here. We need to get her the fuck up out of this restaurant. So when the waitresses and all the staff decide, you know what, let's get our money together. We'll pay our bill. Fuck it. It's not even that expensive. We'll just pay the bill. They said, no. Because she shouldn't be driving. Now, I think I told this Dustin already. What infuriated me about that was
she drove there.
She
had one drink.
From LA.
I wonder, did she even finish her drink?
She got one drink.
Wait, so where was she living? She was living in Fullerton?
Yeah,
You said Fullerton, or I don't know where she was in.
She went to school in Fullerton.
Yeah, so that's Orange County.
She was living with her grandmother. Her grandmother lived in LA. Her great grandmother.
Okay.
Her great grandmother lived in LA.
Okay. Oh, so she called the person that she lived with.
Yes.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I missed that part last
Well,
week.
because I didn't say it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
She technically called the person that she lived with. Now, so okay, here we are again. You had an opportunity to get another number for another individual to settle this bill. Then you had the waitresses and the staff say that, fuck it, let's settle it, let's get her in the
And
car.
almost it's $90, and like you said, like it's a Malibu restaurant. Their tips are probably they made more than
but
individually they probably made more than $90.
Sure,
in tips,
that 7-person party that Mitrice was just sitting with was probably. But even then, it's like they're not entitled to pay it. It's something that
no,
they're
but I'm saying they're
choosing.
nice, so it's not like it's like it's $90. Like
it's something we're choosing
to.
to do just so she can go about her way. Now,
And I bet the
my
waitstaff
point
were
is
minorities.
she got there. If you didn't want her to be in a car, that's one thing. But here's the thing: you didn't overserve her, so you're not liable. She's just crazy. So
Correct.
at the end of the day, if you had said, "Oh, she has 7 ocean breezes," we should not be allowing her to get in the car.
Right.
The onus kind of feels like on the restaurant because we've overserved.
Yeah.
She had 1 drink. She didn't eat or drink with the other party.
Or
so
do they feel like because we've acknowledged that we think that she's off, even though we've acknowledged it, and now do they feel like even though they wouldn't legally be liable? Is it one of those things like is this going to be bad publicity?
That's what I was about to say. Who have you acknowledged it to? That's an official at this point.
Well, yeah,
You're
I guess
talking to a bunch
nobody.
of fucking waiters
Until
and her grandma.
yeah.
Now, I guess that's where the problem was,
Yeah.
is that the grandma could easily say, they called me and said that something was wrong with her.
Or,
but the thing is that the great-grandmother calls Letice right after that
Right
call
after.
and says that Mitrice got her black ass in Malibu. She ain't paid the bill. They gonna fucking lock her up.
And that's what I'm thinking too. Like maybe the waitstaff, like I'm assuming, is a lot of minorities.
No,
No.
you're assuming wrong.
Okay,
Highly
100%.
doubt that they would hire a minority in Malibu.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, no.
I mean, I make okay.
It's a bunch of white folks.
Poor white. I mean, I was gonna say poor white trash.
No, not even
No,
close
not
to
even
that. It's affluent.
Affluent. Oh. I mean, that makes sense. But they're waitstaff, so I just figured, you're not hiring affluent people to be waitstaff.
It's not that
But
them themselves are affluent. They're hiring
It's
a certain
look
type of
yes,
look.
You have to look a certain kind of way.
Yeah, and honestly, like some of them waitstaffs be making more
no,
than
they do.
a
They
lot
make
of motherfuckers.
it's like a waiter at a great steakhouse in Chicago, but even
Sure.
better probably.
So
Makes sense. Never mind.
now, so the waitstaff said they would try to pay. The restaurant wouldn't allow it. They didn't think she should be driving. The sheriff responds, of course, they over-respond. They bring 3 motherfucking deputies for a girl who's less than 140 pounds and like 5'6". This girl is not big. Oh, she's tall. She's like almost 6 feet tall, actually. But she's slender, super slender.
She's athletic
And
stuff.
she's acting crazy, but she's not fucking shit up. It's not like she knocked over all of the
wasn't
dishes.
violent.
She was trying to fight people. She was quietly sitting at the bar when the sheriffs arrived. They told her, could you please wait at the bar until the
And she
police arrived?
chilled.
So she chilled. She like, okay. And she sat there. At the bar was where they provided her the opportunity to call her grandmother. So it's not like
She's
you
even erratic,
have
so I'm not even like,
a bunch of crazy behavior. So here we go. So the sheriffs arrive, they respond, and they claim that they decided to do a field sobriety test. According to the court filing, one of the deputies reporting to the restaurant said that a field test takes 15 minutes. Which I'm like, damn, that's a long time.
I was like, that's a long time. I was like, ABC, remember?
And I guess you will find out when a motherfucker drunk if you doing it for 15 minutes. He never saw. He then said, but I actually never saw one being performed, and I don't remember instructing one. So I'm confused. So let me get the story out, because
the sheriff said.
This is what one of the
deputies.
deputies that showed up said, because 3 of them showed up.
And he said, I never saw one, and I myself never performed one.
And I mean, how do you miss 15 minutes?
And he never instructed that one be performed. He was the first one at the scene. He's like, I don't even know. So the manager demanded a citizen's arrest, thinking it was best for her.
I didn't think those really existed.
Now, it probably was. It probably was. She was charged with defrauding an innkeeper and for possession of less than an ounce of marijuana. They also said they found alcohol, 2 full gallons of vodka, tequila, half a case of beer, 3 to 5 pill bottles in the car, but somehow they missed her fucking purse.
And her cell phone.
Her purse that had a card in it that had that had $2,000 in the bank. She won Po.
She could afford the $90 steak.
And the car was, they said it was disheveled. They were like, her car was dirty. It was chaotic, which happens with crazy people. That ain't nothing new. But
it also happens with a busy person.
That's
like,
true, too.
I was like, my car looks a little messy right now.
That's true.
She had a busy life.
She did.
Like, you're
She'd be
living out
like,
of
the
your car
last thing I
almost.
want to do is clean my car.
Sure.
Like,
Now, but what was weird, and this is what the valet said, was that the wires were pulled out of the column.
yeah, that's weird.
Wires were pulled out, like
out of the column.
Well, like
Because even when he was
somebody
going,
tried to hotwire her.
yeah, like that was the thing. Like
Maybe she didn't have a key.
He
She had
didn't.
hotwired it.
He didn't expand on that any further. That's the weird part. Because I was like, well, you're the valet. Here you are. You got to park this girl's car. Are you able to put a key in an ignition, or do
Correct.
you
Did she
have
give
to?
you a key? How'd you
How
valet
did you
it?
actually park this car?
He was just kind of like, oh, there wasn't. He kind of made it just seem like there wasn't really anywhere to put a key in the ignition, because then my highfalutin ass, I'm like, did she have push to start?
Oh, did that exist?
2009.
That's what I was about to say.
like,
I don't know
2009.
that exists.
I doubt it.
Because I don't remember.
What year was her
I
car
didn't get a
again?
car until 2013.
What year was her car? Wasn't it?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't remember. It was an older Honda Civic,
So,
so
yeah, no
probably
push start.
not.
So older than 2009. I mean, that's it.
Definitely no
13
push.
years ago.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like,
definitely
it's,
no push to start. So she was arrested. Her car was impounded. The manager claimed that Mitrice said she was supposed to meet a friend, and apparently said she, quote, she must have had something pretty good. At this point, Letice is calling the restaurant trying to figure out what's going on. Letice, the mother, she's calling the restaurant trying to figure out what's going on. And they told her Mitrice was on her way to the station. Then her mother told the manager, quote, Mitrice has been hanging around with a new friend that I don't know much about. Maybe a night in jail would make her think about who she chooses to hang out with.
Okay, Mama. That's a little harsh.
I'm gonna be honest
Way
with
harsh,
you.
Ty.
I'm gonna
sounds
be
very,
honest
Black
with you.
Mama. That sounds like something.
Culturally, though,
That sounds normal.
they be making because if
Be like,
I'm not,
let her serve her ass in jail like one night and see.
yeah, 'cause my mom-
Like,
my
but think about
mom-
it, like, she's in a Malibu. Like
a
police
holding
station.
cell.
It's not like she's
she'll
going
probably
to, like,
be
Cook
but
County
at
jail.
best she in there with a couple of hookers and another drunk motherfucker who's trying to sleep it
This
off.
is also the sheriff. They would not probably. I don't know where they would. Do they say where they took her?
Lost Hills.
Lost Hills. Lost Hills is like Calabasas, where like the Kardashians live.
Lost Hills.
Lost Hills.
That's where they
is
took her.
Affluento.
Yeah. It's gonna get better.
They call it Lost Hills. No, I'm thinking of Hidden Hills.
I think they're
don't know
kind of the
Lost
same because my
Hills.
mama said Hidden Hills too, and I was like, "Are we sure those ain't the same?"
Yeah, Hidden Hills is hidden because I don't know if it.
No, you're
that's
not. No, you're.
gated.
I don't know. I don't think it's near Calabasas, but I think it's up there because they said Jada Pinkett and Will
Yeah,
Smith live
it's
up there.
Malibu is close to the Palisades. So when you go up to Palisades and you go
Over.
east,
Okay,
it is in the eastern.
because
area.
I've been to Calabasas.
in the hills. That's why I call it. The
Got
hills.
you. Okay. So what I will say is that if I'm not mistaken, when my mom got in trouble, she got in trouble once when she was a teenager and ended up in the jail. She ended up actually filing a lawsuit against Sears.
Oh.
Because of some like they accused her. Was it Sears? No, it wasn't Sears. It was JCPenney. They accused her of stealing. And then the security pulled her in, and then she ended up doing some jail time. But it wasn't like real jail time. She joked and calls her like 24 hours. Can you remember when that dude
I did
came
jail
out?
time like that.
Remember when that dude? She called it like 24 million hours or whatever. a million little hours.
I remember you telling me the story. That's hilarious.
So she did a little moment in jail. But my grandfather is a cop. So my grandfather was able to like, you know, make some moves and be like, take her the fuck out of there. That ain't what she on. Woo, woo, woo. But at the same time, like the way she always kind of told the story to me is that he made her sit there for a minute. Like it wasn't no like immediate, I'm coming to get you type of moment. It was like, no, because if you did, I'm going to pull my plugs to help you get out. But if you did do that shit, like I'm going to let you suffer for at least 6, 7, maybe 8 hours.
I remember when I was a kid and I was in Memphis and I didn't want to be there and I would like refuse to get on the school bus. Like my grandma like was friends with like the chief of police of Memphis, so he had like a cop come and like, you know, they were like, if you don't start coming home, we're gonna take you to jail. I mean, we won't get into what happened. We'll do that after this, but it backfired sort of. But you know, well,
there's that.
But I mean, my parents definitely thought it was okay to.
Yeah, for sure.
To follow cops into a scared straight kind of situation.
I'm not really
there's
surprised.
TV shows like it.
Yeah, and I think like we're saying, if she's at the Lost Hills Sheriff's Substation, I don't particularly think that Mitrice would be like worried. I think if she ended up locked up in LA County, where like she could be in holding with like murderers and rapists and shit, she'd probably be like, yeah, I'm gonna come get her right now. Plus, it would have been closer for her possibly to come get her. Now, Mitrice kind of goes back and forth with this because that quote was from in her book, but there are many instances where she says like she did not tell them that. And I'm kind of like, but you did. Now, whether you told the police that, I guess that's one thing. That's what she told the manager when she called the restaurant.
Got it.
So Mitrice kind of goes back and forth. And the court filing even said that she claimed she didn't say that. I'd also like to add that the court filings are mad flimsy in this whole situation, because people's stories kept changing and things were becoming super inconsistent, because this is about also protecting institution. So a lot of people started lying very quickly. All right. So, okay, let me get through it. So, at this point, Mitrice is worried about Mitrice being intoxicated. And she asks if they can keep her when she comes to the substation, since she's on her way there anyway. Can you keep her in custody until the morning? And she could, you know, then at that point, Mitrice could drive out. I mean, Mitrice could drive out and she can come get her. She can figure out what her daughter's doing, woo, 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 and then I'll come get her. Well, that's because, too, she didn't live close. She was about 2 hours away in traffic. She then tells the officer, I'm not afraid of her being in custody. It's being released that I'm afraid of. She said, I don't want to wake up to a news report, lost girl found with her head chopped off. That's
she was already like
pre-cock.
She was already going there. Like,
well, because I think that any mother's reaction would be, I don't want this to end up being one of those moments. And if you let her out, it's dark already. If she may not know the area, but what she does know is that it's going to be dark. It's going to be mountainous. It's going to be animals. There's going to be creeps.
Right.
Fucking on the highways looking for hitchhikers. It's gonna be
I feel like this is Hidden Hills, not Lost Hills.
They call it Lost Hills everywhere I look.
Okay.
Did you Google it?
I did, because I know.
Because my mom said Hidden Hills.
Hidden Hills is directly north of Malibu.
Okay. So that must be it, because honestly, when I kept seeing Lost Hills, my mom kept saying Hidden Hills. And I'm like, did they change the name of this place? Do they still call it Hidden Hills? Are people calling it Lost Hills?
Well, I know there's a Lost Hills in the valley where I live. It's in like San Joaquin Valley. It's by Delano.
Oh, that's interesting.
But that is a 3-hour drive.
Okay, and that could be the just these sources being wrong, like especially if you look at like other jurisdictions reporting on California.
Yeah, you just don't.
Who knows? But that's good to know. So it's Hidden Hills. Mm-hmm. That's what my mom said originally.
Yeah, correct.
Either that or she changed the name. Maybe she changed the name. Yeah,
she changed all the other names.
So at this point, obviously, she's just worried that Mitrice is drunk or high, because they kind of have
maybe she knows that she's having a break at this point.
Well, she doesn't really. She kind of is thinking, based on the managers at the restaurant, that she may have just come high or come drunk, and that she's acting this way because of that.
Yeah.
So she asked them. She said, "Yo, could y'all keep her in custody until the morning? I could drive out there. I could come get her. I don't live close. Boo, boo, boo. She says the lost girl with her head chopped off statements. She says she will call in the morning because she needs to get there by at least 6 a.m. So why did she trust the police so much? She trusts the police so much because at that time she was in the process of becoming a sheriff's deputy, and she trusted the law and the process. So she wasn't concerned about them not granting her that. So she calls at 4:30 in the morning to ask for the bail. She was like, how much do I need to pay? What, how do we need to proceed?
What's this process?
The jailer tells her that Mitrice has already been released. She was let out at 12 a.m.
Okay, against the wishes of everything that she said before she fucking hung up the phone.
And you let some, like, maybe drunk high with no ID, no nothing. You just put her out in the middle of what sounds like very mountainous, just vast area with nothing, no car.
They call it Hidden Hills for a reason.
Yeah, like there's no car, there's no ID, you have no purse.
Getting to Hidden Hills is ridiculous. You go through Topanga Canyon and then you drive up through, and it's there's no way you don't walk to Hidden Hills.
No. So you're going to be really infuriated.
Like
you're not going to like where this is going. So Latice calls her grandmother to ask if I'm going to say this too. To me, 12 a.m. letting her out, that's strike one. The reason why that's strike one for them is because she didn't have a purse. She doesn't have a car because you impounded her car. So she doesn't have a car and she doesn't have a cell phone. You let a 24-year-old black girl out in the middle of the night, in an affluent neighborhood with nothing, no money, no card, no nothing, who you have been already told extensively by the restaurant staff she wasn't acting right. That's why they chose to do a citizen's arrest. It had nothing to do with the fact that she didn't pay the bill. Had everything to do with the fact that we did not feel like she was okay to be by herself right now. And we trusted you all to take her into custody and get in contact with who. Because when you think about it, it ain't Geoffrey's responsibility to babysit this girl. So what they were supposed to do is what they did do.
Yeah.
And honestly, to let her out at 12 a.m., I'd give you even more credit if you let her out at 6 a.m.
Yeah. You're like, you didn't show up. We had to let her go.
So Latice calls her grandmother to ask if Mitrice called her. She hadn't. Latice calls back to the sheriff's station to ask how long she has before she can file a missing persons report. And she'd have to file it with they tell her, you got to file it with the LAPD though. And she's like, she
was released here. Okay, the question for me is like, why did they release her? But I'm just saying, I'm saying
who knows?
But that's
they didn't want to do paperwork.
If you took her into custody for a reason. You thought she was intoxicated. What were the release notes? She's not intoxicated. She's okay to go.
That's because they got arrested on a citizen's arrest. They were like, we wouldn't have done this. We did it because the restaurant wanted us to.
It's the reason why it's easy. One, because there was a. Let me tell it. Hold on. Because there's levels in between, and we're gonna get to why that is.
Okay.
So they tell her that you have to file with the LAPD, and that was because Mitrice was a LA resident. The jailer says, quote, I guess probably 24 hours would be reasonable. I mean, if it were some mitigating factors, where you would be suspect, maybe something, end quote. And so she's like,
Lort,
how many hours? How many fucking hours? So he basically tells her maybe 24 hours. After some useless back and forth, he takes her name and says to wait a couple of hours to figure out what's going on and make sure she didn't just fall asleep in the lobby. Now, she's very worried. She now has to track down Mitrice's father, who is apparently a hospital security guard.
But wait, she fell asleep in the lobby. Can't you just go to the lobby?
Well, that's what I would think.
Like, why can't you just go look in the lobby and be like,
can you put me on hold?
Mitrice,
yeah.
Are you here?
Yeah.
Can you put me on hold and go and see if she's out there?
Could you go check? Oh, no, but you need a couple of hours to see if she's in the lobby? Sus, right? sus. So now she's worried, obviously. She tracks down Mitrice's father, who is a hospital security guard. He tells her, I haven't heard from Mitrice. And then at that point, that's when she's like, okay, instead of waiting to file the report with the LAPD, I'm just going to go ahead and file the report with the sheriff's station, which obviously makes sense. This is where this girl went missing. And then Latice makes her way all the way to the substation, which was 83 miles away from where she was. And she's coming from her job. So it takes like 3 hours to get to this station. She doesn't leave until 10 a.m. because she trusted them and waited those hours. And then when she gets there, it's 1 p.m. That means that Mitrice has been missing now for 13 hours. Mitrice is half
who knows where she's at now.
Yeah. Like a fourth of the time that is needed to find a missing person
is gone.
It's gone. And so she is just freaking fucking out, which I'm like, I cannot imagine what that feels like. I don't even want to know what that feels like. But as soon as she gets to the substation, she starts asking a bunch of questions. He tells her she needs to file a report with the LAPD. She pushes back on that. He keeps asking for Mitrice's name, which keeps getting her like mad frustrated. And then he goes, oh, I remember someone reported seeing a trespasser on their property. And based on the description, it may have been your daughter. They sent someone to check it out, but she was already gone. Then he tells her that they're not looking for her, but if she wants to, she was spotted on Cold Canyon Road in Piuma.
You can go look yourself.
You should probably go check it out. That's what they told
do
her.
Your own investigation.
Basically, though, right?
When she got there, she had no idea where to begin.
Horrible.
The area looks mostly like mountains and foothill. She's like, look, Mitrice is fucking missing. She goes back to the station to do the paperwork. Once done, she goes back home. And so Latice reaches out to the social worker she knows named Rita Hansen. Mitrice was Rita's intern, so she knew her well. And Latice asked Rita if she could help. So Rita gladly did. And she basically wanted her to reach out to the station. And she felt that Rita, with all of like her, credentials, maybe she could put some fire to their ass to actually get a response. But in the meantime, Latice starts to make like missing persons flyers just to create some awareness. Because at this point, she's missing. It's just, it is what it is.
She's
it's
missing.
too long. This is too long.
Yeah, it's too long. Her goal was to develop some media attention. And she's not wrong. I mean, typically police departments respond much better when they're embarrassed. So she reaches out to her boss, Anthony, at the Girls and Boys Club or Boys and Girls Club to ask if he had any contacts that could help. And Rita is in the process. She's doing her own work. She gets in contact with a woman, Detective Morrell, who is on the case because the case was redirected to the LAPD without her knowing. Mind you, Hidden Hills did not notify Latice that the case was being switched. So they just did it.
I mean, and like, does LAPD even have jurisdiction there? Like, so if she was like found dead and murdered, could they even investigate there technically?
California has,
they got weird ass laws.
They have weird stuff to where like overlapping
jurisdictions.
If something comes into one county and or a city, you can kind of like, let's say, if the sheriff is chasing somebody and it ends up being in LA City,
they can keep going.
Well, they will. I think they cordially ask, "Can we call her?"
Mm-hmm.
Because we started it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know the overlapping of like a person.
Yeah.
A missing person. This person started out in Malibu, which is I think it's LA County. Like obviously that's why the sheriffs were called. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I don't know why it was.
Because she's an LA resident. But the crazy part is that didn't absolve, the LA sheriffs from any responsibility. It's just that now we're both doing it. Because she's a taxpayer in one area and she's missing in another area. But the fact that Latice wasn't notified, and I guess it's because they had already told her it was happening. We
already told you to go to LA anyway.
You got to go to LA. So that's strike two. Rita was able to share the missing persons able to share with the missing persons department all of like Letice's the conversation she had with Mitrice privately, and she couldn't share those things with her mother. So, but according to even Rita, who is a psychologist, she was able to talk to the detective and tell her like how she was acting leading up to this particular incident. Now, the mother didn't really know, but then when I did my own research and found an interview with the woman that is going by Rita, she basically said that she was asked if, like what her home life was like, what emotional strain she was under, whether or not she had, her parents had any issues with her being lesbian, because of course they start to go through this girl's life. Right. Did they have any issues with her being gay? And then those are the type of questions that Rita was able to answer truthfully from Mitrice's mouth.
From what she's been told.
What she's been told. Now, the subsequent events are just fucking annoying. Letice is literally not worried about Mitrice the entire time she's being held at the station. Her biggest fucking issue was that she did not want her to leave. She didn't want her to leave the station in the middle of the night with no car and no cell phone. And now what pisses them off too about this is that this is also the sheriff's substation where Mel Gibson was arrested. When he got in that anti-Semitic rant and he was drunk and shit.
Oh, right. I remember
this
that.
is where he has his moment, and they drove that same substation drove him 11 miles to go pick up his car because they impounded it.
Because it's Mel Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
But this is,
Yeah. So she even made the comment to the jailer that she did not want her to go missing. She even tells him this. But the problem was that there was miscommunication because there was a shift change. Letice this is a perfect storm, right? Letice talked to one person.
It sounds like it's a created perfect storm.
Yeah.
Communication.
Mm-hmm.
No, you'd be like, oh, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. We were in
the new jailer is like has no idea why this girl is in here for real, because in the report they never actually expressed the true concern that Geoffrey had. The Geoffrey employees had.
It was just she took a $90 steak.
She took a $90 steak. They wanted a citizen's arrest. We just got to wait for her mama to come out here. Not mentioning that she was acting crazy. So most likely when the jailer when the shift switched and the new girl came, she was probably like, she said she want to leave. Ain't nothing here saying that we should hold her, which I'm still kind of like, but who pays for the steak?
Yeah.
Nobody. Yeah, because what is a citizen's arrest? I'm sorry. Like, I want to go arrest somebody in Chicago citizenly.
No, it's more,
I mean, that's not really how it works.
I know, but
but it's like, it's an opportunity for you to be like, there's something going on here. I think that as a citizen, you should do something. But in this particular instance, her bill still wasn't paid. You could have let that.
Maybe the wait staff did take care of it.
But even if they did, if that's the case, let that girl get in her fucking car and go about home. Her merry way. I don't even think we would have this situation for real. We could have, but she could have just went up the coast and ended up somewhere else and would have been found somewhere else.
Yeah.
She probably would have ended up in the same position. But regardless, we don't know that because they implemented this weird, we should arrest her thing over something that really didn't matter.
Well, I mean,
and then in custody, she ends up fucked up.
I think that comes with like our perspective of like not trusting the police just from our experiences where they're like, oh, we're trying to do what's the best because in their mind they trust the authority.
Sure.
And they're like, no, like it's better for her to go with these authority figures because she's clearly acting crazy.
But that's exactly what they thought.
Yeah, like but it's just
and you wouldn't think it would be a problem, but one of the bigger issues is the fact that white people don't understand that when it comes to black people, we don't have the same experience as you do.
Yep, because if that would have been Mitrice would have been a white girl.
It would have happened totally different. She would have never been let out because the bigger point is
they would have called her.
They would have called her
mother probably.
Two, and even if you like. You said technically Mitrice was supposed to be held for at least 5 hours. They held her for 2.
This is what I'm saying. What was the release? If they didn't follow protocol, why was she released?
Mm-hmm. And if let's say you were actually arresting her, and there was supposed to be a fee paid or a court date.
And we know a lot about this too, because like you're taken into custody, but were you read Miranda's? Were you
absolutely.
arrested?
Yeah.
You could just be like, we're taking you downtown.
Yeah.
we're going to hold you and we're going to see what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think
If you're guilty, that's when we will arrest you and read you your Miranda rights.
Sure.
And I think
But that's the crazy
exactly-
thing, because I think she was arrested because she came into the station with her handcuffs behind her back.
But did they cuff her? But then they,
Because
they
you
really want to like go through that paperwork, and they're like, you know what, this is nothing. Like, is one of those things where the police are like, we ain't got time for this.
I
Like,
we'll let her
I
go.
think they felt like it was a small issue that they
and
didn't
they're
want to
just
do
like,
all the
so
clerical
if she
work
wouldn't have
for.
died,
Yeah.
and she would have just turned up, like this would have just all disappeared.
But that doesn't. But
Not
what,
saying it takes away from
even
the
if you, this is
responsibility,
my
but-
thing. Even if you didn't put it on paper that she was acting crazy, you knew at the restaurant that she was. You also knew she only had one drink. And let's say it's true. You found all this shit in this girl's trunk. Let's say it's true. No
Make her sleep it
human
off.
being her mother explicitly asked for her to be kept there. That's number one. But number two, no human being can be let out in the middle of fucking nowhere without their car, without their purse, and without their cell phone. It's not like she was let out in the middle of downtown LA. She could have maybe figured some
They're
shit
like,
out.
Get a cab, or whatever, or like just
Yeah.
duck into a diner.
But even then, she would have got murdered from somebody on Skid Row.
But yes, no, you're
from
right.
the
Like,
beginning,
it's
I know we have a lot more to go into, but just from the beginning of all of this, it just seems like we're talking about humanity.
Sure.
First of all,
Sure.
and they don't have any.
all of these people. First of all, there were several waiters that were cool
Mm-hmm.
with paying her bill.
Yes.
Somebody in there cared,
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
but nobody really said a fucking thing.
No.
Second of all, you went through her purse and you didn't think, let's maybe see if there's another contact
Mm-hmm.
in her fucking purse,
Mm-hmm.
and say like, maybe, you know what, let's just see if there's somebody else we can call, pick this girl up,
Mm-hmm.
and or figure out, do you know if does she have mental issues?
Mm-hmm.
Because she only had one drink, so
Yeah.
we need to know what's going on.
She went through the valet's car before she even had the first drink. If a bitch pulls up
And
in
goes to-
valet and is waiting for her vehicle to get parked, and she starts going through the valet's car, going through his CDs, he even lets the maitre d' or
Yeah.
whoever know, watch her, something off.
So
From the very
everybody knew.
beginning, everybody knew that something was wrong here. That's what pisses me off.
Yeah.
So yes, you kept it out of report.
Yeah.
That's fine. Clerically, cool. You don't want to do the fucking paperwork. Fine. But ultimately, you knew.
Yeah.
Now, who didn't probably know was that new jailer.
the relief.
Because you didn't have it in the record.
Yep.
And she didn't. But then again, I'm like, okay, you jailer, is it your responsibility to just release bitches just because you came to work and you didn't know what the fuck was going on?
I mean, I wonder, this very affluent,
Are they more lenient?
Well, I mean, just thinking, there's she comes in and she's like, what is this one fucking random person doing in holding? And what's going on? And she's
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it
And
sounds
she's like,
a
oh, I
fucking-
stole a
it sounds-
$90 steak. And
It
she's
sounds like a fucking episode of Andy Griffith.
Sure.
yes, exactly.
Nothing ever happens in that town,
Like-
and when it happens, they're like, "Well, I don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
Let's
Like-
fucking let it go."
Let her go. It was
Yeah.
a steak. Whatever.
I don't
Absolutely.
know what's happening.
I mean, they're not arresting her, so the restaurant didn't press charges.
Yeah.
They were just doing a citizen's arrest because they felt like she wasn't okay.
So this new jail is just like,
Like, okay, well
are
then
you
let
sober?
her out.
Because I mean, she might have at that point,
been normal.
been kind of normal, or
Because
at
we
least-
also know, like we've learned from rapid cycling bipolarism, that it's normal
Yeah.
and then it's crazy and then it's normal. Like even when I was dealing with the shit with
you're
my ex, having to see a person act differently when authorities arrive.
You're like,
I was like, wow, you were acting like a baboon's ass like 5 seconds ago, but you straightened up and flew right when you thought you were about to go to jail. I feel like it's very selective. They know because in their consciousness somewhere, a normal person is in there.
it's there. So your mania kind of
But it's
takes.
also
It's
chemical.
like, oh,
It is chemical.
yeah.
So when your adrenaline rushes,
Yeah.
I mean your chemistry changes.
Yeah.
So they're probably like, damn.
And then I think it's the fight or flight. At that point, it's that fight or flight
Yeah.
in that amygdala that's being triggered. That I know that this particular authority figure can create a
Yeah.
problem for me. So let me just make some adjustments.
Or I mean,
and I
it's
think
even
your
like the
brain will
difference
do
between,
that.
The sociopath versus a psychopath, and
Yeah.
when you get ready to plead temporary or insanity, is it's so hard to prove because you have to do it and then not cover it up, but like you can still be crazy or have a break and then be like, oh shit, I just killed this person and now I need to like cover it up.
Yeah.
Temporary.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
because I mean, and that's what makes it a little more like weird to me because it's a little more controlled in that way. It's like it's off and on. But if she has what her mom's has, where it's just in and out, it happens and it don't. By the time she woke up, she may have still been on the crazy tip, but it may not have been like, as bad as it was before. It's just like, she's like, the fuck? When I get locked up? And then they let her out. So okay, let me.
Yeah,
because I ain't even broke the seal. So here we go.
Shoot.
So
I'm trying not to go break the seal.
They're putting exactly. So so they didn't notify Latisse. They didn't share Rita. Rita was able to share the missing the information about Mitrice. Blah 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 blah. We already know that. Now, I think that what pissed me off the most was the fact that they didn't call a 5150, which is kind of what we're talking about now.
Yes, like
the fact that she was kind of weird, kind of not, to the point where the restaurant relayed that message to the police, but the police didn't say, hey, we got a possible 5150. We need to hold her for 72 hours. And then when I learned more about the 5150, I learned this, and this was from the LA Magazine, and they said that if a law enforcement officer determines that an arrestee is mentally unstable, he's allowed to detain the person as a possible 5150, which is the official code for an individual who poses a danger to oneself or others. In such a scenario, the officer will either put the arrestee on what is called a watch commander hold for greater scrutiny, or if necessary, send him or her to the facility for 72 hours psychological evaluation. Both instances call for extra time and extra paperwork, or even a trip to the hospital. The arresting deputy, Laredo, didn't mention any unusual behavior or odd statements in the arrest report. So it's like we're saying, they just didn't want to do the paperwork. Now, the house that Mitrice was spotted at was the home of Bill Smith, a former KTLA news anchor. His home was in Montecito, which was 6 miles. Is it Montecito or Montecito? Is it Montecito?
Montecito is close to Santa Barbara, so it's possible.
Okay, because now I don't trust any of these names. Montecito, Montecito, one of the Nitos. One of the Montes.
One of the Montes, whether it be Nito or not so Nito.
Which was 6 miles away from the sheriff's substation. They awaited 2 days before deciding to search for her.
Your brain
at her last.
I was like,
they waited.
I'm calculating and I'm looking in a map in my head, and I'm also listening to the story. So I'm like, wait, okay.
They waited 2 days before deciding to search for her last known location. They were able to find her tracks, but then she just seemed to have disappeared. It had appeared that she had been running, and the tracks ran out less than 100 feet from an area called Dark Canyon. So.
Well, that's scary.
Yep. At some point, the missing persons case was transferred to the LAPD. Latisse was not notified, as we know. Now, that's strike 3. At this point, Latisse is trying to gain media coverage of her daughter being missing. So she starts going through Mitrice's MySpace page, and she sees this very cryptic blog. And this is what Mitrice says. If no one in the world ever saw you, how would you know you exist? Understands the mind of a pretty girl. They'd rather deny her mind than hear her speak. My mind tells me I exist, but you deny my mind. You deny my existence. I'm tired. I'm so tired. See me, somebody, please. I don't want my existence to be stuck in my mind. I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. I'm here. Doesn't anyone hear me? Ghost. Why can't I find it? It feels like every time I find myself, everyone wants to beat me back down to where I once was. Want everyone to be happy? I choose to try and make everyone happy, because in the midst of their happiness will be their love. I just don't understand why I love so hard, but no one matches it, or those who do don't want it. I'm trying so hard to be great so I can find the songs of my soul and the beats in which I love to dance. I see the perfection of being in love and try so hard for it, but why wouldn't it show itself to me? God, I feel like I've been jumped by 3 people. All I want is someone to hold me at the end of the day. Take my pain away and say, Mitrice, you're beautiful. I'm so simple, but I guess I'm not. So in the meantime, all I have to say is, Mitrice, you're beautiful. I will take away all your fears and catch all the diamonds from your eyes. You are a blessing, and one day someone else will be able to cherish and love you as much as I do. It's okay, baby. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and the rest of America is waiting for you. I really wish you recognized my cry for you. I needed you so bad, more than you'll ever understand. Look deeper and you will see a girl struggling behind a beautiful smile.
Snaps.
That's very lyrical.
Very lyrical.
I mean, she seems very talented, but very, very hurt.
Yep.
Very deep.
She also sounds like she. I mean, I'm not an English major by all means.
Sure.
But it sounded like she was writing that in very different personas throughout the whole.
Yeah.
Throughout everything, she was like talking about herself in the first person, third person, second person. It's like almost
It's
like she
erratic.
didn't know who she wanted to be.
Yeah. It was like she was all of them at the same time.
Correct.
And my theory, even reading that, is romance. It's hurt. I think it's self-love too, but at the end I'm like, oh, I see what's going on here.
Somebody hurt her.
Somebody hurt you.
And it
like,
triggered a snap.
And I know that she was messing with 3 girls, but there was one girl towards the end that she was messing with. And I did go through classic MySpace to look at her pictures, which I found. And, some of her pictures, she's sitting on this girl's lap. They're kissing each other, all that other stuff. I'm wondering if there was like an issue in the relationship that led her. I'm not blaming this girl, obviously, because you never know how anyone emotionally will take a breakup or not being taken seriously or whatever. But I'm just saying that I think that's where, for a lot of young people, that's an easy trigger.
Yeah.
Is
In the
someone
beginning,
that
didn't you say
doesn't love you.
The mom had said like, she did have a new friend.
Yeah. Yep.
And then from there, it was kind of
Yeah. I think it was a new girl she was messing with, and that it was possibly one-sided. And, sometimes, and I feel like even in my situation, one of the reasons why I feel like there was just he was starting to have those episodes where he was clicking off, clicking on, clicking off, clicking on, was because he wasn't getting completely what he felt like I should be giving him.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with somebody who feels like they care about you more, like less than you care about them, then there starts to be like that debate in your head. It's like, I'm telling you right now, it's not my fault. It's how you perceiving it.
Yep.
But his perception is part of the problem, right?
Definitely.
Like how he's receiving, how I'm choosing to love him
Yeah.
is a lot of the reasons why you have those snaps. So I think too, like just...
Well, I mean, there's that saying, hurt people.
Yeah.
Hurt people.
Sure. Absolutely.
I mean, and it could be too. She was dating 3 people, so maybe she fell
really
in
confused.
love. Well, I mean,
Really
and,
confused.
maybe it's one of those things where they, all these girls she was dating, where it's like, hey, we're just dating each other and it's cool. And then she starts falling for one of them, and the other one's like, yeah, no, that's not what this was.
Not what this was.
This was. We were all having fun.
Yeah.
And now she's
So
like, oh my
much
God,
fun.
no, but I love you.
Yeah.
Or maybe she had a break.
Maybe
and,
they all dumped her at once.
Yeah.
Or
who
that
knows?
too, like-
There's so many
knows?
scenarios.
Yeah, for sure. So after finding the MySpace page, Latice contacts the detective that she had been working with, Detective Morrell, who tells her that she can't really discuss Mitrice's psychological past with her and that she should continue having faith in the fact that they'll find her. So Latice ends up going to sleep. She wakes up to the following morning and she finds out that Detective Morrell was no longer assigned to the case and that the case was now being transferred to robbery homicide. Now, that's strike 4. Latice is uncomfortable as fuck. Why? Because why is this case being transferred? The response was, quote, but don't be alarmed because Mitrice's case is being transferred to robbery homicide does not mean that she was met with foul play. We don't have any information to support that. The decision to transfer her case is simply because that department has more resources. Please just keep the faith that she will be found. The lead detective for robbery homicide will be in touch with you soon. His name is Detective Knowles. You take care. That was the last time she heard from Detective Morrell. She would eventually get a random call from one of the sheriff's deputies asking how Mitrice was doing.
Listeners, if you don't know, I'm rolling my eyes and I'm shaking.
The deputy asked Latice how Mitrice was doing and whether or not she had arrived home, which was mad triggering, I'm sure. So the LAPD cut the search short, but that didn't keep Mitrice's family and friends from looking. They got a lot of help from the local community as well. And people were door knocking. People were passing around flyers. They would literally search every weekend looking for Mitrice. I did watch this one clip where this one searcher was explaining her interaction with the sheriff's department. She said, quote, "Believe me, what you're doing is making that girl into a feud." This is what the deputy said. "Believe me, what you're doing is making that girl into a fugitive. That girl doesn't want to be found. That family may think they know their daughter, but they don't know who she is. And sometimes you think you know someone, but you don't. Believe me, that girl doesn't want to be found. Believe me, that girl is in a better place now."
Well,
yeah,
that's your opinion.
Then,
that's his opinion.
Like,
it doesn't sound like she wanted to be lost either. So.
They go on to talk about how they can't arrest crazy people just because they're crazy. He says some fucked up shit like, you know, you could eat shit and be crazy. I can't arrest you for eating shit. And I'm like, why are you talking to one of the searchers about this?
And you know, it makes me wonder too, though, like what her psychiatrist or psychologist said to the police, you know, and what her mental state was, and like, was she upset with her family? You know, was she pressured? Because she does sound like she had a very high pressure lifestyle. Like, when she was a perfectionist, like she did everything great. Like, you know, was that because she was made to? And like her parents were like, so her mom was very much like, we're not gonna, you know, I'm gonna make you do better. And so was that something she was talking to her psychiatrist about? And so now the cops is like,
she did have a psychiatrist?
Well, the Rita woman is a psychologist technically,
but she wasn't
she doesn't strike me as her
doctor.
patient,
Right.
but she was her intern. Mitrice was her intern.
but she was telling the police things that she wouldn't tell her mom.
Yeah. So she was still
make her patient, though. That's
sure.
what I'm saying. Like,
because nothing about it led me to believe that Rita had diagnosed her.
Correct.
But you know, there are, and me and Dustin did talk about it. It was like, it's kind of weird that, you know, did she not notice it? But I also think with people who have this condition, there are people that they just act differently with. And I don't necessarily, and I think that because as normal thinking people, we sometimes think that, oh, when somebody's acting crazy, they're always crazy. No, they are legitimately fucking not. When you get a motherfucker, people act crazy to who they want to act crazy with. So she probably was doing her internship acting normal than a motherfucker, other than maybe saying some weird shit here or there, which at some point is hard to really distinguish whether or not a person is like eccentric and just like funky and
actually like
because
psychotic
but from what even Letitia's mother says is that, and we'll get into this too, is that there was like a series of text messages that were just like weird that she was sending. But it wasn't until they really looked at her MySpace page that they started to kind of see where she was unraveling, because it's not anything that she presented to them. So, all right. So now Letitia's sister-in-law, Elaine, she was close to Mitrice, and she would be the one to join in on the search for her, as well as her boss Anthony from the Boys and Girls Club, who Letitia actually sleeps with in the book, and that's kind of weird, but whatever. To each his own. Sometimes, you know, you're stressed, you want some dick.
Yeah, I mean, in mourning, you know, different people handle.
I mean,
you know,
I was stressed.
Times, like,
I could have
brings people together
straight up, and also like in those moments, it's like, I guess you're like, I just want something to take the pain away for like 5 seconds.
I mean,
it's a distraction.
Dead, so.
Yeah, exactly. So. And then she worked with Rita. Rita was a big part of that search. She would also work with the civil rights attorney by the name of Theo Harrell, and Theo would bring in the more exposure for Mitrice's case. He called a press conference on September 24th, 2009 in front of the Hidden Hill station. Now, things started off okay, but the relationship between Louis and Letitice, Louis is Mitrice's father, started to get worse. He insisted on her not asking for donations, saying shit like, one of the concerns I share with Letitice, this is a quote, one of the concerns I share with Letitice is accepting monetary donations. This concerns me on so many levels. It would be he said, it would be better if we do fundraisers as opposed to accepting money. Which is funny coming from him, considering he didn't financially contribute shit.
But it's also to understand, like, if you're, what's the difference between? And I know there's a difference, like taking donations, having a fundraiser, because a fundraiser usually has like a thing, but you're fundraising for Mitrice. So what's the difference at this point of taking donations for Mitrice and fundraising for Mitrice?
Well, and like, I mean, I think the bigger point to make is your child is missing. I don't fucking care if I have to go to the end of a rainbow and suck a leprechaun's dick. For the
funds to make it happen.
I need my child back. And arguing with you is a waste of my fucking time.
Totally.
So, yeah, we're putting a donations especially considering I ain't getting no money from you, my nigga.
Ever.
If I was getting money from you, we would be having a totally different discussion. Now, he gets worse, because I'm going to mention a few things from him, mainly because it's just interesting how he's acting, and I don't know if it's just a stress response from, him just feeling helpless, because he wasn't in Mitrice's life like that.
Yeah.
They had just started building on their relationship when she was in college. So ultimately, he's probably thinking, regret.
Like, he can have regret,
and he's
too.
Blaming and he's pointing fingers. But I'm like, motherfucker, point the finger at you. Because you also it is your fault that you regret this. This girl is missing, true. But one thing Latisse got in her favor is the fact that she loved her, was there for her, did everything for her.
Yeah.
What have you done? So don't lash out at Latisse.
For me lately?
Exactly. So anyway, he pisses me off, and I have my own like personal feelings about Lewis's ass.
It's like every time we get to a spot, I'm like, oh, this is where we got cut off, and then you say something, it's like, oh, I kind of remember this part.
we got some.
We got some more to go, and I was like, oh, I remember this part. Wait, hold on.
So
basically, deadbeat dad.
Well,
was he?
I don't
absent.
know him. So
Me neither. I know. I'm like,
he
was
sounds
he?
like a deadbeat.
I would-
to me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were out of my life until college.
well, I would.
And then-
Well, it depends on whether or not he's playing child support, but I would say absent for sure.
Absent father.
For sure.
Yeah.
He also
Absentee.
he also didn't show up a lot for the search,
So deadbeat.
so he's deadbeat for sure.
Because he has to work.
Well, and
Probably
then
because
or
he-
absent again.
Well, because he has to work, but if you're not working, I mean, but so did Latisse.
Correct.
Latisse wasn't independently wealthy. So, excuse me, sir. Fuck you. I'm putting the donations tab on the website.
Yeah, I'm putting the donations down. Because then I can stop working, and then like I can like
Focus.
focus on
on
finding my daughter.
Hence the donations tab. Oh, so basically, he didn't show up to the search. You ain't been involved. Hence the donations tab on the fucking website, which you're vehemently against. She even tried to set up a situation at her church, to which he responded, quote, Latisse, we are not taking money, neither from the church nor anyone else. God himself would have to come and give it to us. Our own child is against handouts, and this is something she expressed a lot. No money is going to be taken. Fundraisers keep you in the clear. His issue was that he felt that they were handouts. And he even takes it a step further and says, quote, why are you guys trying to exploit this situation? I will provide a defense against you. I have Mitrice's journals exposing you and talking about how Darnell, who is her current husband that she's in the middle of a divorce with, how Darnell and her mother, which is Latisse, and $80,000 that they didn't give her $1 to help her with her books. I promise you, I will put an end to this bullshit, Latisse. I promise you, I will expose your ass. I promise you, you will not exploit my daughter. Latisse, this is my last time trying to work with you. You need to listen to me. We cannot show division between us. Rita is your people, but you need to listen. We are going to lose this fight, going our separate ways. At this point, Latisse was like questioning whether or not this motherfucker was up to a scam. She's like, the math ain't mathing. You are too into opportunists.
And you keep saying we. We're not a we.
No.
Like, nigga, like, we're not together. Like,
No.
why do you keep saying we can't take donations? No, you can't take donations.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't married. We ain't together. We don't file taxes together.
But
like,
this is where
ain't no
Latisse.
we.
But this is where Latisse kind of pisses me off. She goes ahead and she bargains with him, and she says she wouldn't put a donations tab on the site, but that she would proceed with fundraising. That they could proceed with fundraising as long as he hired a PI. He accepted. He then took it upon himself to have a bike rally because he's in a bike club to raise awareness. But Latisse didn't understand the purpose. She's kind of like, this ain't getting us no money, but okay. Now, Lewis was stubborn and he was fucking annoying. And one, didn't believe that Mitrice had a mental illness. Lewis had his own opinions about mental health and therapy, as most black people do. And he and his mother were homeless when he was growing up. And he would say things like, God told her to do shit, which I'm like, that's schizophrenia, but okay. 2, he would apparently try to get back with Letice during this time, which is fucking inappropriate and weird. And then 3, he would continue to be a problem throughout the search and act like a 9-year-old when he didn't get his fucking way. Now, Letice will receive an email from a PI after a couple of weeks. Lewis had not retained a PI.
Ooh, he said, all that fundraising?
This is what Lewis said. Letice, we need to meet and discuss these people who are going to find Mitrice and bring her home. These people do not play. And we'll get the job done. But we have got to come through with the payment because they don't play when it comes to their money. And I told them we will make it happen. So they are ready to go when it comes, I'm sorry, they're ready to do what it takes. And we are on the hook to pay them. If we don't come, then it's not going to be good for us. Are you with me?
Ooh, is he
who did he hire? The mob?
The mafia?
So Lewis is a dick. I think we can establish that.
He'd be like, by the way, I already made a payment. And he's like, I already owe somebody a favor, so we got to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
So she reaches out to him and she curses him out. And then basically at the end, she says, you have jeopardized my efforts to publicly participate in the search for my daughter because of the danger you have involved me in. And I'm like,
sounds a bit dangerous. So yeah,
you're an asshole. Totally. So now Letice is freaking the fuck out. She's like, what the fuck did this dude get us into? Then Lewis gaslights the shit out of her and says, Miss Sutton, you watch too many movies. Because she's kind of like, what did you get us into? Miss Sutton, you watch too many movies. I have no idea what you're referring to. However, thanks for the compliment of knowing that Mitrice is my primary focus. Letice, I am so tired. But the way you are taking this... The way you're taking this is far out, even for you. I will take this. He goes, I will take this as your bipolar condition or your brain aneurysm. You know, I don't know why you hate me so much. And I'm the one who loved you more than anyone you have ever been with. I know you later resent having Mitrice by me because where you could have been by now. I know my daughter still loves you, even knowing that. But I told you, I know, but I think you shoot me down such based on, that's weird, that's a typo, on how you treat us both. And we are the ones who care about you. Do you know our daughter is in this situation for the very same reason? She has shitted on people who loved her and trusted people who slipped her drugs. What? Letice, I'm not perfect, but I don't understand why you, of all people, hate me. You ask, he said, you act as you are always the victim and never do anything wrong. But you and I both know, and I know the real you. Even though you regret having her, you did an awesome job with Mitrice. Get some rests. Let's discuss how to get our child back. And I know it's hard, but I need her back. And stop with the mob movies. Just shut up and don't contact me until you find Mitrice.
Ass.
So he already obviously knew the reference that she was referencing. And if you recognize it, obviously you knew that it was something shady. So that homie needs to have a seat.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really care. He's opportunist. He wanted to go about it he wanted a tax break.
He wants control.
He wanted a tax break. Also, he's like, I don't want to donate. He's like, I want to donate, not donations. He wanted
to do a fundraiser.
Fundraising.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. And I'm like, but why are you bringing so much chaos into a situation that's already chaotic?
And then what kind of investigators did you hire that we might get murdered if we don't pay them?
Yeah, exactly.
He has a lot of anger towards his ex-wife.
He does. He does. And with that, this is where we end part 1.
Good, I got a few.
So we're gonna do a part 2 of this. And I know it sucks because you all still don't know what the fuck is going on.
No, shoot.
There's a lot of moving parts. But it's going to happen. So, hey, y'all, instead of doing every other week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to release this one this week because this one's mad fucking late. And then next week, I'm going to release the second part. So you don't have to wait you don't have to skip a week to do it. So that's part one of the curious case of Mitrice Richardson. Bye, y'all.
Have a great week.